Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now I'm going to do a very quick shout out to my GoFundMe campaign, which everybody's super excited about, which is in regards to my amps that have gone boom. So if you'd like to support that GoFundMe campaign, click on the link that hopefully one of the moderators will stick in the live stream chat, and I thank you in advance for doing so. If indeed you did not want to contribute, then please feel free to share the campaign. Again, just go on the campaign page, click on the link to share it on Facebook and Twitter. You'd be surprised how much effect that actually has. So big props to anybody who does that. Thank you very much in advance to all of you who contribute to the campaign. And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous, warm welcome to Arwin, Brian's Logic, Neil, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
All right, let's get going.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, good afternoon. Popcorn is ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container?
Well,
And
according
Tent
to
has a
the
video
Without
about
the
it.
container,
That's 5
there
people.
can be no
Maybe
pressure.
make it 6.
Bending of space-time creates a container.
Show me.
I like John's.
Hold on.
It's over
like
there.
it.
Hold on. Go on, Owen. Show me.
It's over there. Just look outside.
I'm
But
looking.
remember
I'm
that
looking.
you can't actually see it because you're still in
then
the
you can't
third
show me.
dimension.
What do you mean? Look outside. You can't see it. What am I
That's
looking
how
at?
it works. That's how it works.
Right. No. Containment is a physical barrier of some description for the gas to press upon to have gas pressure.
Yes, and thanks to space-time bending, there's funnels in which there basically is no more space outside of the tunnel
Time's not
within
physical.
space-time.
Conceptual time
Funnels.
isn't a funnel. Time isn't something that can physically contain something. It's a concept.
Oh, it's space-time, not time.
Yeah,
That's a
space-time,
funnel.
fourth dimensional pseudo-Harmonian space-time. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but that's not a container either. It's a pseudo fourth dimension.
Well, at some point, matter will not be able to escape it anymore because it's just there's a cutoff, right? There's no
What,
more
like a barrier?
space-time.
Yeah, do you want to show me that?
No, I can't show you because
Yeah, we're going
it's
around in
not
circles
in the
then.
third dimension. You can't see that. It
All
is
right,
there.
we've already covered that. Well, thank you. That's very informative.
You're welcome.
John had a good one. What were you
Yeah,
saying
John.
about the gas
John.
pressure, John?
And that's how
I think he
you
was saying
manage to not make
energy
any
s-
claims as a globe believer. You just keep your mouth shut when somebody asks you to make a claim, and then you don't have to deal with it.
What did he say,
You
Tent?
just have to understand it, right?
Yeah, well, let's see
You
if Arwin
can't
wants
ask
it.
for evidence. That's not
Yeah,
reasonable.
Arwin, can you explain high energy states in short distances for us?
In relation to what?
In
Your
relation to high energy,
non-seeable space-time.
in relation to exactly what he said.
Well, you just have to think of space-time having a container within it. You can't see it in the third dimension, but in the fourth dimension, there is a containment there, and it prevents gas from escaping outside of that location because there is effectively a barrier there within space-time. It's not here in the 3D realm, but it's there.
But the gas is very much
So is that what-
three-dimensional, physical, and needs containment on a physical level. So if you're saying it's a container in a fourth dimension that is not physically visible, then it's not going to physically contain the gas.
Just because it's not physically visible doesn't mean it can't contain the gas.
Ace, show me.
So
It's over there.
No,
but
no,
you
no.
can't see
No,
it.
we've done this 3 times. Boring.
I'm sorry. Reality must be really boring.
No. Reality would be you showing it to be real with a demonstration of fourth dimensional pseudo force space containing gas. You just got to show that. If you keep saying, well, just look out there, there's nothing to see, that's the end of
I
your
could show
argument. Because
you
you're
a
not backing your claim.
diagram of it.
You're not backing your claim.
Yeah, but
You
how
can't see
can
it,
I
but
be
you can show a
expected to back
diagram?
my claim when it's not in the regular 3D world to be observed?
That's all right. Just show
How
us the
can-
4D
how can
world.
you- May I ask him a question? How can you show a diagram if you can't see it?
You can see the diagram, but it's only a representative of what's happening.
No, you
So
can't-
you're going to make up a diagram for something you can't prove or see.
Yes, he is.
Fair enough, I guess.
Not
You
fair
just got
enough.
the ball.
No, reification fallacy. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
What is the
Negative.
radius for that?
Oh, Neil deGrasse Tyson had a great clip about that.
Really?
Didn't Chocolate bring that up yesterday? or was
Oh,
that
right, with the
after you
basketballs. Yeah.
left?
Earth rotations affecting backspin, according to Tyson, which is what we're going to be covering now. So this is a clip from Tyson's channel, I believe, which is Neil deGrasse Tyson explains tire pressure. Wow, because lots of people are asking Tyson about tire pressure, I assume. Okay, fair enough, I guess. So the thumbnail, however, gives it a slightly different spin, which is to say, how much does air weigh? So let's see what Tyson's got to say on the subject.
Jack, I got another explainer for you.
All right.
I just figure it's something that people think they know about, but you really don't.
Okay.
So I just thought I would sort of bring it up. And it has to do with
Is he shit-faced? Is he drunk? Anyone else hear that slur in his voice? Sounds
Stoned.
drunk. Is it just me? Just
He
listen to
seems
that again.
stoned.
He doesn't allow it.
It's something that people think they know about, but you really don't.
Okay.
So I just thought I would sort of bring it up. And it has to
I just drive home, officer.
No, he's not
Oh,
drunk.
right.
He's stoned. That's the sound of somebody that's stoned.
Is that right, Arwin? How would you know that?
Because I'm a cannabis smoker and I
Oh,
know.
is that right? I mean, I could only comment on what crack addiction looks like, so I have no comment on this.
do with tire pressure.
Tire pressure.
Tire pressure, yeah.
Tire pressure. Say it with me. No.
Tire pressure.
There we go.
Tire pressure.
Tire. Okay.
Oh,
Okay, we're with you, man. Nobody's asking this.
All
right.
right.
All right, no, nobody's asking this. Do you want to show me where one of your commenters has asked you this to give you the idea that there's a misapprehension about it? No, just a ham-handed segue with a lot of repetition of what you're going to be covering, followed by okay.
All right. Are you
Okay.
are you
Okay,
ready?
okay. Yeah, okay.
Nathan.
I'm really.
Okay, most people who own a car would know what tire pressure means if they just went to a local garage and asked the mechanic. Now it takes an astrophysicist to help us, where a garage mechanic could easily tell you what it is.
Really not ready. But this is good. Hey, listen, I feel like this. At this point, we done.
Is it just me, or has they just had 38 seconds of saying absolutely nothing?
It's not you, but let me tell you something why they're going over this.
Correct.
It's because of flat earth debate.
7 days ago they covered this. Yeah, maybe.
I'm telling you.
Paddled out. It's time to ride the wave. That's the way I feel.
We're out there. Just let's do it. Bring it
out
on.
here.
Bring
you
it
say
on.
tire pressure. I'm like,
Yeah, baby, bring it on. Okay, yeah, huh? Mm-hmm. Let's get on with it. How long's this gonna last?
you gotta be zen enough to go ahead and jump up. It's time to get up.
Let's have the pep talk now. Yeah, 47 seconds in.
Nathan.
What?
Nathan, this is the way they start the show most of the times. This is the way they do it. Fun, laughter, like, we got the answer so we could joke for the first 5 minutes or
I mean,
something.
what a way to start the show.
Goofball talking to a goofball.
I mean, can't they do something tasteful, like e-begging for amplifier GoFundMe's? or something like that. I mean, what's wrong with them?
Nope, they're not allowed.
It's just disgraceful as far as I'm concerned. They could be
That's
doing
their
something
shtick.
better with their time. Anyway, yeah, do support my GoFundMe link in the live stream chat, hopefully.
and surf this wave. That's all.
All right, let's do it. So, tire pressure. First of all, if you have a tire with, quote, no air in it, of course there's air in it because there's the atmospheric air.
Sorry? Atmo what now? Atmospheric, sphere-shaped air? Atmo, air, sphere, a shape? No, air doesn't take the shape of a sphere. So we're straight into the actual claim being made after a load of nonsense and waffle back and forth about a begging the question fallacy that air arbitrarily takes a sphere shape. No, it doesn't. Air does not behave like that. Gas, air, takes the shape of whatever containment it has. So no, we haven't got an arbitrary, stuck to the side of a sphere Earth, sphere-shaped air by you begging the question with this word, Atmo what now? Atmo begging the question sphere-shaped? No. Atmo air isn't sphere-shaped.
Is in it.
Right.
In it? In what? That would imply that atmosphere has some form of containment for the gas to be in it? No. Sphere-shaped air has no containment for gas to be in anything. It's just violating the the second law of thermodynamics, which is to say that it's not following entropic law and dispersing into the space that it has to fill. Because according to...
he's saying... Sorry. I'm saying, so he's saying air, sphere-shaped air is in the tire? Really?
They're saying we have gas pressure to begin with. That much is true. But he's saying the gas pressure we have to begin with, that's still existing within the tyre, just not a higher pressure than the air around it, is still there. And the air is there automatically because it's arbitrarily in a sphere shape clinging to the side of a sphere Earth. That's what is begging the question atmosphere word means. So we've got automatically in existence gas pressure. Yeah, that requires containment. Unless you say it's sphere-shaped. Just arbitrarily hanging around in the sky vacuum, not dispersing into it in the shape of a sphere. Because Neil deGrasse Tyson says so. That's how the automatically in existence, requiring containment, gas pressure is here. With one word.
Okay, and
Not okay. Air isn't sphere-shaped.
atmosphere has its own
Atmosphere, no, we don't have sphere-shaped air.
pressure.
Oh, right. So sphere-shaped air in a vacuum is pressing what? On the vacuum? No. This is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics and an oxymoron. Atmo, air, isn't sphere-shaped. So to be at pressure, you need to be pressing on something. What does the gas in this picture, assuming that beyond this blue that will turn to black is actually 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, all of this high-pressure gas would sod off into it. It's not just sticking around in a sphere shape.
And this is the weight of a column of air.
Sorry, is it just me, or did you just say the weight of a column of air as you showed gas moving up from the ground? So when you say weight, that's quantified in your vernacular as a downward vector.
Because there's
So what the hell's
atmosphere-
this? This would be vegetation upon the ground with a graphic of the gas being produced and going...
is in it.
Right.
Okay,
Up.
and atmosphere has its own pressure. And this is the
Atmosphere doesn't have its own pressure. Gas achieves pressure when it presses on something. Atmosphere arbitrarily achieves gas pressure without pressing on anything, because where it should be pressing on a container, it's actually got a massive availability of volume of space that it's not filling, so therefore your statement that it just happens to have gas pressure, this arbitrarily sphere-shaped air I've just described, without proving. No, my friend, I can violate every single word of that nonsense.
weight of a column of air.
Weight of a column, it's going up. From the ground, up in your diagram. So gas is produced down at ground level and makes its way up, according to this diagram. So how is there a weight of the air going down when it's produced at ground level and makes its way up with the second law of thermodynamics description of dispersion in place? It isn't. Gas isn't falling down with weight. It isn't even doing it in your demonstration here. Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, family.
Hey, Adam.
How's everybody doing today?
That is what?
Whoever that was, go ahead.
The stratus what? According with the video there.
In English, Jorge?
No, it says the stratosphere again. Back of the question once more.
Oh, of course. He's got various different types of sphere-shaped air.
Air from Earth's surface all the way up to the edge of the atmosphere.
So this gas has just made its way from the ground up to the sky. So it's dispersed into the availability of volume. Well, this, according to his diagram, this black bit is 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. That's an area of empty space that this gas, in line with gas behavior, that is to say that it moves at high velocity in whatever direction it's traveling until it hits the walls of the container. That's gas pressure. What's going to happen next in this diagram, I wonder?
If you had found...
Oh, sorry, it just stopped. No, you see, where his diagram stopped is where his religion of a sphere Earth ends. Because that gas would continue in that direction into the sky vacuum. Because gas doesn't go down, go boom, boom at 9.8 meters per second with gravity. It doesn't change its vector with an ever-weakening force that isn't actually a force that you can think of as a force. That doesn't happen either.
found a way to weigh this. I think we might have...
But why are you talking about how you've weighed it when weight is a downward vector and you've just showed a diagram of it going up towards space, never to return, leaving us all dead? The gas in your diagram dissipated into space. None of us would be breathing based on your last depiction.
talked about this in another...
Talked about it? It's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics.
But if you have like 1 square inch or 1 square anything, but 1 square inch and have weigh that column of air,
Sorry, columns of air? You think gases collimate? You think you've got columns of air? No, my friend, are you idiotic? Do you not understand how gas behaves? It does not form columns in an anisotropic mixture of gases. That's not what it does. It's inhomogeneous. It's not forming columns. Wow. Total clown.
14.7 pounds.
Magical column.
Nice.
Magical columns. 14.7 PSI. What's the I stand for, Tyson? Would it be per inch of the containment it's got to press upon? What containment was in your diagram when the gas was created at ground level and made its way up to outer space? Where was the per inch that it pressed on when your diagram just suddenly ended?
Okay. And the way air works, fluids work, is that
air works, fluids work. Oh, we're going to have some sort of bastardization about how liquid works, it's going to seem.
Sure. I would say, yes, it's sitting on the scale, but that pressure...
Do you ever see gases sitting on scales? Is that something we achieve without containment? No, we don't. You know why? Because the moment the gas particle hit the scale, it bounce off it. And then carry on in whatever vector it's carrying on in until it collides with something else. That's what gas does. So how the hell are you going to weigh it without a container?
Manifests in every direction because the molecules are vibrating in every direction.
Yeah, so therefore they're going to carry on into space. So what Neil deGrasse Tyson's just done is debunked outer space. If the sky was a vacuum, then the gas we breathe would be filling it.
He's contradicting himself.
He's describing gas behavior, which just violates his religion of a sphere Earth.
Right.
So right now I have 14.7 pounds per square inch on one side of my hand and on the other
side.
And up towards the sky vacuum and every which way on a globe. So if you've got 14.7 pressing down on you and up on you, what's it pressing up at the sky vacuum? Answer? Well, it's an empty space for gas to fill. What does gas do when it encounters empty space? Does it chill out and have a little cigarette at the Kármán line? Does it defy gas law and put on a load of weight and burn its bra? No. Gas carries on in the exact same behaviour that it was carrying on until it reached the Kármán line. That is to say that it dissipates into the availability of space that it has to fill. Yeah? Until it's got something to press on. And there's no containment around a sphere Earth for gas to press on.
Above and
below.
And so everything's all equaled out.
Above? What, by the sky vacuum? It's pressing on that, is it, Dumbos?
Every direction.
So I don't even notice it.
That's why you're not getting...
You'd notice it dissipating into a sky vacuum, we'd all be dead. None of us would be breathing.
crushed by your 14-pound air.
Correct.
Just doesn't make a difference.
Correct.
It's pushing down on you and pushing up.
And pushing.
Pushes up on the sky vacuum. You think you can press upwards on an empty space, because that's what you dumbos think is above your heads. You think there's a massive empty space, a void. You know what they call that massive empty void? They call it space. So it's a space that the gas could go into, because your hand isn't there to press on. So it's not going to form pressure going down in a column, this anisotropic inhomogeneous mixture of gases. It ain't collimating.
It's even Steven.
Whereas if I have a suction cup,
Right.
and I
Sorry, how is this suction cup in any way comparable? You're going to define how the gas presses down on it? Right, so you're saying there's gas pressure pushing on this. All right, what does the gas pressure press up on in the sky?
press out the air
Mm-hmm.
that would otherwise be balancing it, if I press it out.
Yeah.
So now I say, lift up the suction cup. You say, I
Well-
can't, it's sucking me down. No, it's not. Why can't you pick up the suction
14.7 pounds
per square inch
per square
pressing
inch
down on
is pushing it down.
pushing it.
It's
So there's 14.7 pounds of pressure that wants to vacate into whatever space it's got. Yeah, pressing down and pressing up. Unfortunately, though, your sphere Earth in a sky vacuum has nothing above you to press upon. Yeah, so if that was real, we'd all be dead. Shout out
Nathan,
to...
is he saying gas?
I'd love,
Go on,
I'd
go
love
on.
to ask him per square inch of what, sir? What's the square inch of? What are you measuring again?
Yeah, to achieve gas pressure in the first place, we're going to need a container with a per inch of something to press on for the first gas molecule that came out of the ground to go up to, hit, and then come back down to the ground it came from to press on it. So it's got to go up and then come back down after pressing on something in the sky. What's that? You say there's nothing but empty space up there? You know, areas for astronauts to float around in an orbit? Of course, they need spacesuits so that they keep the air around their body as they look down on clouds not filling a vacuum. You're all stupid if you think you're living on a sphere in a sky vacuum. Yeah, when you watch your stupid men in space, when you watch the aliens sucked out of the Nostromo and go, wow, look how quickly it sucked out that physical body into the area of space. Now, isn't that pretty planet below with all its gas pressure? Just wonderful. No, there would be no gas pressure on any of those planets in these stupid sci-fi depictions of your religious worldview of sphere Earth. Yeah, gas, that's clouds and all the things that are in those clouds on the surface that you're looking back with your spacesuit on, keeping the nice yummy gas pressure inside the suit. Well, what's Earth's suit keeping its pressure inside? Oh, it doesn't have one. Just high pressure gas wanting to fill space. And what's around it? Space? And you even call it space? Yeah, they're literally urinating in all you idiots' faces who believe you're on a sphere. Shout out to Uncle Ben, who says, please can you shout out my son, James, who watches the show every day. James, you're the main man. Shout out to you. Thank you very much for the super chat, Uncle Ben. You didn't have to pay for that if you wanted a super chat. If you wanted a shout out for your son, you didn't have to pay me. You could have just asked them. I'd have definitely just done it. Speaking of which, Cosmic did exactly that for my daughter the other day. So he's doing, I don't know how he does it. He's doing world record speed runs on, admittedly, a computer game. He's doing it on Mario 2, the Japanese version. But he's doing these speed runs. He needs a lot of concentration. And I'm in the chat going, my daughter's watching. Any chance for a shout out? And then the next thing he basically says is, I've got to shut this chat down because I've got to concentrate. I'm doing a world record speed run, obviously. But then he shouted out Eleanor. And I was just so touched. Just it made such a difference. I was touched because of how touched she was. It meant a lot to her. It's like, oh my God, someone's doing a world record Mario and he's shouting me out. So it just meant a lot to her. So yeah, anyway, thank you very much. Anyway, Uncle Ben, I really, really appreciate the support. Thank you very much indeed. Please share the show to Neil deGrasse Tyson. Of course, yeah. God, thank you. Should really apply to absolutely everybody unilaterally, shouldn't it? Okay, so the video we're covering is Neil deGrasse Tyson explains tire pressure, and obviously what goes round comes round. I'd like you to all go and let Neil deGrasse Tyson know what wonderful material he's producing and how you managed to find your way there, which is to say that Nathan Oakley 1980 channel and all the wonderful people there reacting to his video sent you. So there's a link going by in the live stream chat now. Please let Neil deGrasse Tyson know with a comment. Help him with the algorithm by commenting and liking his video, by letting him know that Nathan Oakley 1980 sent you after a reaction. And I'm sure Neil deGrasse Tyson, were he to respond to me, would repay the favour by shouting me out with a link to my videos, benefiting me and my family and hopefully repairing the heaters. Anyway, let's get on with it.
Nathan,
Yes.
he said that the gas particles vibrate in all directions. But prior to that, he said the edge, that instead of calling it a container, he said atmospheric edge. So if gas pressure is hitting the atmospheric edge and vibrating in all directions, isn't he saying there's a container actually?
He's just saying there's
Magic
an
soup.
arbitrarily inner sphere-shaped air, and at the edge of the arbitrarily not dispersing into gas violating the second law of thermodynamics, it's got an edge to it. It's called the Kármán line. It's where the gas, which was traveling at a high velocity towards that area of space, gets to the Kármán line, the atmospheric edge, if you will, and says, you know what? Sod gas law. I am not going to continue. I've had enough. I've been travelling for bloody ages. I'm going to burn my bra in defiance, and I'm going to stay right here where I am at the Kármán line. I'm going to have a cake. And if I am to put on weight, I will go down, go boom boom. How dare anybody tell me that it's a law that I have to continue in whatever vector I'm travelling until it hits something? It's absurd. I'm chilling here. I'm at the Kármán line. I'm here. I'm atmosphere. You don't have to like it.
Right, but if it's vibrating in all directions and the very thing is the atmospheric edge, is the same gas, what's it? It's hitting itself and not vibrating in all directions?
Just
anymore?
violating the second law of thermodynamics and not dispersing into the availability of volume.
I
That's
realized
a high energy problem at short distances.
It's just very much a short distance problem in a long distance world of heliocentrism, John. You're very much correct.
It's really
the
not
more I listen to
sucking
these
anything.
guys,
Sorry, go ahead, Chocolate.
sorry, I was just gonna say, the more I listen to this guy and these high priests, I realize there's this very special skill that they need to have, right? They have to be a master of the false equivalence, because they are very quick to throw an example or a scenario that has nothing to do with the actual argument they're making, but they use it to conflate with their point. So whatever example, like before when he said, what did he say?
Suction
He
cup.
he said air, and then he quickly moved to fluids, right? Like he's using that trick to make you think that his example is what he's actually talking about when it's actually a false equivalence. Because even though air and liquids can be considered fluids, they are not the same thing.
Yes, suction cups don't suck.
They don't suck. They got a bad rap for so long.
They don't suck.
They don't suck.
So if you had 10 square inches of area on the suction cup,
Right.
I can ask you, how much force would it take to pull the suction cup off the surface?
So I gotta go 10 square inches times 14.7 pounds per.
So they're calculating it perfectly reasonable, but all we've done is we've got past the point where they've begged the question of atmosphere, sphere-shaped air not expanding into a vacuum. And now they're just having a little chit-chat about how gas behaviour works. In this case, you force the air out of the suction cup, the remaining pressure that's on top of the cup is forcing it down, and there's nothing pushing it back out in equilibrium to allow you to pick it up. Therefore, you've got to overcome the 14.7 pounds to actually remove it from the surface that it's attached to. So, yeah, okay, fine. There's nothing to disagree with here. Is anybody missing it? Unless I've missed something. Is anybody spotted anything I'm missing?
That's the trick that he's using, though.
Can you do that without the cup?
Yeah, the question that should be asked.
Square
There is a beneficial thing to put to the audience, right? Which is to say, at this point, if you end up finding yourself in this point in the argument where they're detailing things that are true, but we're already past the point of begging the question, the question that should be asked at this stage is, how did you achieve the 14.7 psi of gas pressure in the first place? How did it first come to be in effect? What was it that gave us the initial gas pressure? Don't start with gas pressure already in existence and justify it with atmosphere, only to then describe how the already in existence, not having been defined with a reasonable cohesion to the second law of thermodynamics, behaves once it's already in existence. Because we can debunk it by asking that simple question. Where did you get the gas pressure from in the first place? Big shout out to Retro Bill. Shout out to NDT for his brave support of the status quo. Indeed.
And then push back in that opposite direction and
Okay, that gets you 147 pounds. So if you can pull 147 pounds or more, it pops right up. Or you could cheat and pop open a little curl in the edge.
And then let nature do it for you.
Air slips in and then it just comes off.
Right.
So you let nature help you out. Okay, so
with a tiny, tiny, tiny little gap in the suction cup, created by a fingernail tucked underneath it, the air makes its way inside the containment. That, in this case, would be the bottom of the suction cup. That's your container. Yeah? Now, in that case, once you force all the air out of the container, creating a partial vacuum, in actual fact, just pushing the plastic much, 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 much closer to the area that you've actually got it attached to. But you've still got the 14.7 psi that you've got to overcome. So he's absolutely correct in that. But it's overcome the moment you lift the edge of the container. Well, Earth, as a sphere, has no containment whatsoever, let alone a little edge that you've lifted that would immediately let it equalise into the area of space. So if you're suggesting that this suction cup has got a partial vacuum, what, like the partial vacuum of space? No, it's 10 to the minus 17 torr. Yeah? Without containment, every single sodding molecule of gas would immediately vacate into space. Instantly. Further to that, we'd have never achieved gas pressure in the first place. So the first gas molecule comes out of the ground and immediately just carries on in whatever vector towards the space it's got to fill. And it never comes back. So where the hell do you get gas pressure on the surface from in the first place to make this example? That's the question that should be asked.
the point is, if you fill a tire to what we call 10 pounds per square inch,
over and above the 14.7 psi that we've got at sea level. So it's a differential that they show on the gauge.
That's 10 pounds on top of the air pressure that's already in there.
Where did we get the gas pressure from in the first place? So given that we've already got existing pressure, and in order to be higher than that pressure in the tyre, we need a container, in order to achieve the higher pressure. Yeah? So in other words, the tyre would be representative of Earth with a high pressure, and then the lower pressure would be the 14.7 psi around it. Now, bearing in mind that if I put a tiny little hole, as described by Neil deGrasse Tyson with the suction cup, the higher pressure of the tyre, in line with entropic law, that's the second law of thermodynamics, will equalise with the pressure around it. Likewise, Earth with a high pressure like the tyre, if it had a small gap in the let's say the Kármán line. Let's say there was a tiny tear in the Kármán line. What's the Kármán line? Well, it's not a container to have a tear in. But let's pretend it is, and it's got a tiny tear in it like a tyre. Well, then it's going to equalise with the surrounding differential of pressure. So in other words, the pressure at ground level with the tear in the sphere-shaped air atmosphere, the edge of it, the Kármán line, whatever the containment, fourth dimensional space-time they claim is, if there was a tiny tear in the fourth dimensional space-time that doesn't exist because it's pseudo-Ramonian, then we'd be at 10 to the minus 17 torr at sea level. There'd be absolutely no pressure because it would all equalise with the surrounding lack of pressure. That's 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, according to the sky vacuum claim. So that's where we'd be at. We'd all be dead. Shout out to a few people. Unless there's any comments, go ahead. No? Okay, shout out to JMails24. I'm seeing a real lack of understanding here with the FED panel, particularly that Nathan guy. I get it. It took me 4 hours to really understand Neil. Okay, JMails24. I appreciate the sarcasm, and thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really do appreciate it. Also, shout out to Sasha, or Unitox Family as he goes by. If you fill the tyre, sea level will remain level. Oh, what a duper. I love it. Thank you very much indeed, lads. Really do appreciate the support.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Right.
All right. So first of all, just lay that out.
Cool.
All right. So now, have you noticed, or perhaps not, that on bicycle tires, the thinner, the skinnier the tube,
Yes.
the what?
The less air you should keep putting in it once it gets hard, because it will pop. I'm telling you.
Okay, but from experience, okay? No.
Also, like high pressure gas, yeah, under containment, if the pressure exceeds the, what would it be, tensile value of the tyre, then the gas will fill the available space. It will leave the containment of the inner tube and vacate, disperse, in line with entropic law, into the rest of the availability of volume it's got around it. Right. So likewise, Earth, like an inner tube, just without the inner tube, at high pressure, without something to press on, would want to equalise with the surrounding lack of pressure, the differential being 10 to the minus 17 torr. So yeah, it would pop, like Earth would pop. If it had something to pop, of course we would never have achieved gas pressure in the heliocentric model in the first place.
Okay, if you look at the ratings of thin tires, in essentially every case, depending on what they're made of, but in every case, they have a higher pounds per square inch rating than the bigger tires.
What's the pounds per square inch rating of the Kármán line? How do you measure the per inch value of the edge of the atmosphere? Do you want to give us answers to these pertinent questions about your belief in heliocentrism, Mr. Tyson? Because those are pretty fundamental problems with your religion, given that you've got no PSI to achieve in a heliocentric model with a sky vacuum instead of containment.
Okay.
Nathan, he
Yeah,
said,
I'm pretty okay with that. Go ahead.
No. He said that it vibrates in all direction until it reaches the edge, which is the Kármán line, basically, and then it has weight, and the weight. So the air itself is the container because it has weight. Now, isn't there less pressure at the Kármán line?
I don't know. I've never been.
These guys are taking the PSI, I'm telling you.
Yeah, there's a differential in pressure. What you're saying is, does the pressure decrease as you increase in elevation? Yes, it does. We have a dynamic system. We have a cloud layer, for example, where all of the water cycle is going to culminate in terms of it changing phase and coming back down to the ground, go down, go boom, boom, in the form of rain. Not gas. Yeah? That goes up. But there's all sorts of other dynamic systems that are taking place at the same time. And yes, the air gets thinner. The gas pressure is less. That would be the amount that the gas presses on the walls of its containment by way of dynamic system is decreased as the area increases. That would be to say that the highest concentration of gases is at ground level where they're produced, and the lowest is where there's nothing producing them, shockingly, as they cycle around in a dynamic system. But for all of the above, without exception, you first require containment to achieve any of that.
Right. But since he's using weight as the downward vector, and by saying that creates an edge, then it kills his own argument, because the weight is mostly on the ground, not up there. So how did they ever get up there? If weight is keeping air down in this imaginary Kármán line, atmospheric edge, and gas is vibrating in all directions until they get there, and then the gas itself, because of its weight, doesn't allow it to go anymore, no more vibration in any direction, except the weight is down. So how did they ever get up there? His argument is weight.
Yeah, but see, within their model, it is weight. So they say that it's not anymore, but they're trying to go back into old and busted gravity. They say that the air that surrounds you has a downward vector upon you, adding to your weight. That is their claim. Now, this is debunked by the weighing of things in a vacuum chamber, as they end up weighing more in a vacuum chamber when there is no air. which is completely opposite. It means that the air gives a certain buoyancy to objects and not a downward vector. There is no weight to air. So that's the end of that. It's gas. Can't weigh a gas on its own. You know,
So
gas
he's got
can't have
gas
a
going down, go boom, boom.
Yeah, but that can't happen. But within their claim, and the claim he's making, the air that's at sea level or on the Earth's surface has more weight than the air up above. Now you're saying, how did the air up above get there? See, if you ask them that, they'd say, well, thermal columns and stuff, they'll have to revert to reality. There's the reason that there is a gas pressure gradient is due to temperature. That's what creates the gas pressure gradient. Now, it is a little bit complicated when you get above 10 miles, but it's still about temperature. But temperature can't exist, vacuum can't exist, and gas pressure can't exist without a container. But within their claim, they need air to be a mass, what they call a mass, and they need that mass to be given weight via force of gravity, which means that they need you to be heavier while standing in air than you would be if possible to weigh you in a vacuum. But in a vacuum, things weigh more, not less, completely debunking all their claims.
Hi.
Okay.
Period.
I didn't know that, to be honest.
Yes. Okay. So now
this is the first I'm ever hearing of this.
Okay, because you got to pay
I know you
attention.
did.
Well,
okay?
no, I'm gonna tell you why. Because I come from the times when you would fill your tire, and then you just.
Are we really going to have this? Is this guy really going to reminisce about tires? I mean, I don't know about anybody else,
this guy's
right?
a moron.
I mean, I often make disclaimers about how things that excite me, like amplifiers, like hi-fi equipment, often bores the pants off other people. Now, I can appreciate that when it's something that I know that at least at some level people can appreciate that electronics have got a certain mystique, a certain level of excitement that can be perceived in them. And the same goes for computing, even though I don't actually like computers. But I can understand how there's a geeky appeal that people can see in it. Now, to a certain degree, maybe someone's going to get in the comments and go, oh, tyres are quite exciting. They change your lap times and all this sort of stuff. But that isn't what they're doing, right? He's reminiscing about pumping up a bike tyre. This is where this goes. You have to dumb it down to this sort of level to make it digestible and obfuscate away from the actual point they're making that doesn't have a viable beginning with gas pressure, eating donuts and falling down, go boom boom at the Carmen line. So they've got to reminisce about tyres. I mean, my God, they've even edited in somebody squishing a tyre to, bring a bit more life to the story.
What's the matter, Nathan? You never reminisced about the time when your tire blew when you were a kid and you had to pump it up?
Oh, me and my wife, we sit around for hours talking about, do you remember that time? Or I remember a time when I was a kid and I got a flat tyre. And I took the inner tube out, I took it to the kitchen, I pumped it up, and I watched the little bubbles come out, and I got my patch kit. No, we don't do that.
You know what you never did, though, Nathan? You never sat around and said, I wonder if this could happen if I didn't have the tire. That's what you never did.
What I used to do, Chop, when I got a puncture, was I'd say to the tire, right, fine, I'm now defining a thing called a Carmen line, just sat right on the edge of this. None of the gas then left the cylinder at that point. Never got a flat tire again.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You just have to remind the gas what it was capable of. I get it.
Yeah.
I used to take
just
it
say,
into
look, see
Halfords.
that imaginary line there? Do not cross it.
Yeah.
Don't
okay,
care what your natural behaviour is. Don't go past there.
Give me the tyre pressure without the horrible, awkward expense of the inner tube. I just want the pressure around the outside of the metal rim without the container. And they go, oh, that's not possible. You need something to put the higher pressure in. You go, surely not. Look around you. There's gas pressure without a container all around you. Just take some of that fourth dimensional magic and put it around my rim. What's your problem?
Yeah, it's a short distance problem.
That's true. Very short distance when the tyre bursts.
On it. And if you can actually push it and flatten it, you're like, now put some more air in there. Okay.
What are we?
Yeah.
That's how you measure.
And then once you couldn't do that, you'd be like, all right, it's time to go.
It's time. Yeah, yeah. You want to use a gauge, okay?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, all right.
Right.
All right. So, and the gauge is calibrated to not count air pressure. All right.
Right.
So that's how they work. All right. So now watch. You sitting on your bicycle, and the bicycle has tires, and the tires are in contact with the road. Obviously, the heavier.
How's the person on the bicycle breathing if the sky is a vacuum? How did they manage to create a differential in the tyre between the lower pressure gas in the quote-unquote atmosphere, sphere-shaped air, and the tyre if the atmosphere, sphere-shaped air merely has an availability of volume to fill, like if you didn't have a tyre at all? How would it be possible to create that differential? And how is the person with the pump breathing if the sky is a vacuum?
Heavier you are, the flatter the tire is going to look.
True.
Okay, okay, you know this.
Well, yeah.
Why does the tire flatten if you're heavier? Why does it do that? I'm going to tell you why. Because at all times, the pressure inside the tire per square inch times the square inches of tire in contact with the road has.
Meanwhile, the sky is not a vacuum, outer space is fake, every claimed trip to the moon is fake because you can't travel from high pressure gas into an area of volume gas isn't filling, it violates the second law, debunking the moon landing. So while this dipshit's talking about tyres and how the pressure of a flat tyre is dissipating the per square inch of a value he can't achieve in his worldview, we're debunking the moon landing. Just want to point out to all of Neil deGrasse Tyson's audience that when we reacted to this utter tripe, we were debunking the moon landings while he was talking about bicycles with the exact same context. His context gives you why does your tyre go a bit flat. My context with PSI and how much pressure the gas is under debunks the moon landings. What a stark contrast, eh? Go ahead, whoever that was.
Yeah, that was me. It's interesting. Now he's changing gears and going into gas pressure within the container, the tire. And what happens when he, weighing over 250 pounds, I think he says next, sits on it, and how it kind of flattens and grabs more of the road, so more traction on the road. Now, what has this got to do? You see that the changeover is smart on their part because everyone could relate to this, but he forgot that you can't have it in the first place without containment.
There's 3 pieces of asphalt, like tarmac, you know, road surfaces, and they're sat at a bar, right? And they're all having a chat away. One's the barman, and the one piece of asphalt or tarmac says to the barman, he says, I am hard, like strong as. He says, I'm a piece of motorway, like freeway. He says, I got cars going over me all day long, tyre pressures bouncing up and down on me all day long, hard as. The piece of asphalt next to him goes, yeah, right. Says, I'm an on-ramp. Says, people accelerate on me. I've got to be propped up. I'm at various angles. Tell you what, I've got a much harder life. I'm much harder than you. And the barman goes, yeah, whatever. As he starts talking, the door opens and another piece of black asphalt tarmac walks in, and everyone in the bar goes quiet. And the on-ramp looks over to the bar and whispers. He goes, who's that? The barman goes, just don't mess with him. He's a psychopath.
Genius.
That was actually good.
It's to equal your weight plus the weight of the bicycle.
Psychopath.
Wow.
At all times. At all times.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right. So, if I have a big tire, like a kid's tire, okay, if I have one of those kind of tires, and it's huge, it might take 30 pounds per square inch. That's not uncommon, okay? 20 to 30 pounds per square inch. And there's a square inch of it in contact in the back and a square inch in contact with the front.
There's 3 mints in a bar, right? Again, one's the barman. And the one mint says, I'm a Polo. He says, I'm the best flavour, got the most sugar. People love me. I'm a Polo. People absolutely adore me. The mint says to him next to him, he says, oh, I'm a humbug. He says, I'm like world famous. Everyone knows who I am. And, you know, That just makes me the best mint. The barman says, you ain't got nothing on me. As he's saying it, the door walks open and a circular mint with 3 X's walks in. And everyone in the bar goes quiet. And the humbug leans over to the barman and goes, "Who's he?" The barman says, "Don't mess with him. He's mental."
Add those up, it is holding up 60 pounds. That could be the weight of the bicycle plus the weight of the kid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you put a heavy kid on there, the bicycle has to hold up more weight against the air pressure in the tires. So the tires flatten a little more.
My God, this is rudimentary. Ugh.
But this is the trick, Nathan. This is the trick.
Bore the audience to death. Bore them so much we tell jokes.
No, that's part of it. Meaning, I think Chocolate says it already. But basically, instead of focusing on the impossibility of that tire holding any weight without a container, the tire itself, and the pressure building up in it, he goes on to describing it and taking the audience totally somewhere else on a point that's so obvious and boring that you forget what he did. He's saying the Earth has gas pressure, but without the tire.
The whole time
what he's doing.
Basically,
like I said, you have to be a master of the false equivalence, right? Because this whole time, what is he talking about again? Oh, a container, gas pressure in a container. The same thing that all these rovers think we're crazy for talking about. But here's your man, your high priest, talking about that very thing.
So is he ever going to get to why the Earth has gas pressure?
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
Is he ever going to get that?
That's what he's doing. He's going to talk about how when you're sitting on your bike, there's more pressure at the bottom of the tire that's close to the road. And the reason there is because there's your weight on top of the tires. He's going to then juxtapose that with all the weight of the mass of atmosphere.
Good call, Brian.
Pushing down.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's what he's doing.
Brian's got there before we did. Spot on.
Well spotted.
Of course, it's obvious to all of us now. Brian said it. But that's where it's going.
I
You're
did
spot
know
on.
before, but I didn't want to say. No, not really. Wicked spot, Brian.
Yeah, well called.
Oh yeah, that's all they ever do.
Well, it's just spotting how it's going to be done before they get there. It's just part of the fun, isn't it, Brian? And you got there before all of us, so kudos.
Yeah.
So the atmosphere, the column of air of atmosphere is the same as a man sitting on a bike.
Right.
Wow.
We're getting there. We're getting
Now
there. Let him
you
get
know
there.
why
though.
you can breathe.
We'll give Brian props again when he gets there.
This area.
Right.
Okay. Adding more area so that now you go the air pressure times the square inches in touch with the ground, and now that'll equal the weight of the heavier kid.
So how many square inches are in contact with the top of the tyre? Do they just go? Is it 0? Is it like the same as the air pressure or not? What's the dealio there then?
Okay. So I'm heavy, all right? I'm 260 pounds right now. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So now, I ride a bicycle with very narrow tires. The air pressure in those tires is 130 pounds per square inch. 130 pounds. Okay?
Is it just 130 pounds on the bottom of the tyre? Or is it also on all parts of the tyre? Like in all directions?
Does it really matter though? Because what he said was the air pressure in the tire.
In the container. So for this example to be true, we're going to need a container. The tyre.
Per tire. So watch what happens.
Yeah. So what's the tyre around Earth? What does that look like? Earth got a tyre?
It's called the magic tire.
I deflate it to that amount, and those tires...
So in order to inflate it, you needed a container to inflate it with, to put the air pressure into. So how did air get into Earth's container, non-container? How did it fill up? How did we achieve gas pressure? When it was filling up, like with your tyre, you filled it into an area of volume, the tyre. What was the area of volume that was available when the first gas particle was produced at ground level and made its way out from the ground into the availability of space? What did it press on? I mean, it's left the ground. It's not going to press on that. It's going away from it. So what did that press on? As Earth was being pumped up, did it have a container to fill? Oh, it didn't? Well, what was the space the gas was filling then? What, just space? Well, then we'd have never achieved gas pressure. There'd be no pumping Earth up for us to be at the pressure we're at.
Tires will flatten to slightly more than a square inch per tire. Because it's my weight plus the weight of the 22-pound bicycle, it's got to hold up 280 pounds.
Right.
So it's going to flatten slightly more than a square inch on each, and that is my tire. Okay?
Okay.
So who was asking this? What relevance has it got? Well, thanks for that.
So, farm tractors have huge tires.
Right.
Huge tires.
Huge? Wow.
In that way, they put relatively low air pressure in them. That way, when the tires roll over the crops, it does minimal damage.
Right. Because you're not digging in.
You're not digging
you
in.
don't
It
need that.
spreads out.
That's
the pressure.
Brilliant.
Okay? You can still hold up the tractor.
Right.
If you get enough area coming down. Otherwise, you'd be leaving deep tracks in the road, and you can't have that. Not in your...
Right, I see.
Hold up the tractor.
Yeah.
That's not a downward vector.
Right. So it's pushing it up. Right. The gas pressure's pushing up the weight of the tractor then. Right, I see. But it needs something to press on to be pushing up. What's above us in the sky that the gas is pressing on? Oh, nothing. It's just an area of volume the gas could fill.
It's like dune buggies.
You find
They
that
all have...
most...
Go on.
You find that most tractors that harvest wheat or corn, they don't want the tire to run over their crops. So they mostly skinny tires. So the path of the tractor only destroys whatever the tires go over.
I mean, just putting less air in the tire is obviously much better for the crop. But let's forget the entire weight of the damn tractor itself. I mean, this is nonsense. This is so cringe. It's like listening to Beavis and Butthead talking about science. This is crazy. Can't stand these two.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say we will continue talking about Neil deGrasse Tyson in the after show. So stay tuned if you're watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premium Stream. Actually, there's been a super chat that's just come in, so I'll shout that out. And I may even do one more plug for my GoFundMe. Why not? As I'm going to be doing a shout out for this super chat. So shout out to Retro Bill. He says, Neil says the Earth is a little chubby at the centre. So obviously it has a spare tyre. Very good. Very good. I like it a lot. Okay, so in the live stream chat that's going by now, you'll hopefully see a link for my GoFundMe campaign, which is to replace the aging amplifiers that I've currently got to monitor this show. Pretty important piece of equipment, so I'm hoping I'll get some support, at least hopefully a third of the way there, so I can get at least one replacement for the one that's currently dead. So yes, so hopefully you'll click on that link, and if indeed you did not want to financially support that campaign, then go to the link and just share the campaign. So there we go. If you did want to donate, the only advice I'd give you is once you've set the amount that you actually want to contribute, just go down to the tip amount down at the bottom and just slide it to 0. They take a chunk anyway, so there's no point giving them extra amount once you do contribute to the campaign. So that's pretty much it. Please support my GoFundMe campaign. And again, another massive, huge, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ Panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either primary stream, as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!